When it's Prajul Pathak this side and watching my YouTube channel pyGuru. Friends, this is our second tutorial in car racing game development using Python and Pygame. So in the last tutorial we were able to code up till here. Okay, so if I just run this, nothing much happens. This basically a simple image just like this appears, and if I just click back, the game just gets over. Okay, that's a very minimal thing that I have modified from the last time, and that is I have included 4 more colors here. Okay, so RGB values for white, red, green and black. So you can just pause this video and copy this in your file, or you can just copy the entire RGB values from source code from the github link in the video description. Okay, so let's keep it here and let's move further. Okay, now in this tutorial we'll be adding our player to our game. Our player is simply is a car which we can control. We can move it left, right. We can also boost its speed by using nitro. Okay, so we'll be implementing all these things. So let's get started. So if I just run this now, see here, in the last video we talked about the scenes. Okay, so currently the only scene that we implemented is the home page, where we are simply displaying a loading image. Okay, now I want to code for the game page. Here it will be responsible for the main game, so we can just jump to scenes like this. We can just make the game page true and we can just make the home page false. Okay, so if I just do this and run the game, you will see a blue screen just appears. By this blue screen, because we are filling the window with blue color here. Okay, at the top of this here. Okay, now this is not part of any if condition, that's why whatever if condition you write, this line will be displayed. Okay, so now let's code the game page. So before coding the game page or before creating a player, there are few things that I want to implement in it. First of all, I want to show the road on which our player will run, or our car will run. Okay, so for this I have an image in my file. If I just go here and car racing 2D, in the assets here I have an image called bg.png. okay, so first of all I am just going to load this image and show it on my game page. So for to use this we have to first load it. So let me just copy these lines and paste it here. We will change the name. Let's just call it bg instead of omimg. Okay, so bg like this, and here we have to load the bg.png. so let's just load bg.png. Though we have loaded it, we are not displaying it on the screen. So to display it, you have to blit it. Okay, so to blit we have this function win.blit. Now here you have to type the image name. We have the bg as image name, and then the position where you want to show it. Again we will show it at 0,0. so basically this will cover the entire screen. Okay, if I again just run this, this will simply create a image like this. Okay, it's looking good. The second thing that I want is basically it's a background which shows a kind of desert. Okay, and on the top of this I want to display a road. So again for road I have an image. So if I just come here and if I just go to my car racing 2D assets, so I should be having here, okay, a road.png. I want to display this thing. Okay, so again for this we'll be just loading it and displaying it on the screen. So let me just try it. Let me just copy this thing. Let's copy it and paste it here. We will just call it road, let's say. There are a few more things that we want to implement in road, but for this tutorial we will simply just display the road. Okay, so we have loaded the road and we can just display it if you want. So win.blit road at 0,0. if I just do something like this, you will see the road will cover the entire background. Okay, and I don't want this thing to happen. See, the road is taking the entire screen, and the right side of this road is not being shown on the screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to resize this image. In Pygame you can resize images like this. First of all, we create a variable called road. Okay, though we have already created one variable named road, it will just overwrite it. Okay, then pygame dot transform dot scale, we have this method to resize images. It takes two arguments. First, the image that you want to resize. So we have a image called road and the new width and height. So I want to resize it with we have to pass the new width and height for our road. Okay, so my new width will be width minus 60. So our initial width of the game window is 288 pixels. Here we have defined 288 pixels. So if I just subtract 60 from it, so it will become 200 18, I think 228 pixels. Okay, so it will become 228 pixels is the new width, and height will be the same as the game window. Okay, so if I just do this and run this thing, this will scale the image, and if I just run it again, see the road is being shown, but the road is not in the center. I want to make the road display in the center. So you can just move your road in the center by shifting or changing the x value where you are displaying it. Okay, so if you just change this value, let's say if I just make it 30, it will just shift our road to the center. Okay, so it's shifting it toward the right hand side. If you give a negative value, it will shift it toward the left hand side. If the value of I if you change like this, if you pass 50 here, let's say, the road will just go downwards. So see, the road is just getting downwards, but we don't want that. Okay, one more thing, here the road will be moving in our game. The road will be moving, so it will give us an appearance that our car is moving. Okay, it's kind of a parallax effect, but we will be implementing that thing in the next tutorial. Okay, for now we are just going to create our player. So till here everything looks good. If I just again run this, we have this road, we have the background, and now we can just create our player. Now what is our player? Basically, if I just go here in the car racing 2D assets, we have one more folder called cars. Inside cars we have 8 images. These 8 images are our player. Okay, we can select just any of these and that car will be our player. We can just move our car either to the left or right. Okay, so for this, we are not just going to directly load it and display it. We are just going to create a new file for our new things. Okay, so just create new here, and you can save it where you have saved your source code. So I have saved it in car racing, and here we will save it with the name objects. So objects.py. Okay, so yes, video is not getting lengthy, so here just copy these 2 lines, import pygame and paste it here. We don't want the pygame.init thing, so let's just remove the line. Okay, so if you are creating a new file and if you want to use the functions of pygame, then you have to import the pygame in this file too. Okay, now we are just going to wrap our player inside a class. Now what is a class? Basically, class is a blueprint for an object. Inside class we can just put all of the variables related to that particular object at one place, and all of the functions and methods. Okay, so basically it will help us to group the code related to player at one place. Okay, so this will help us to clean the code. To how to create a class, you can just create a class like this. Class, like function, we use the def keyword. For class we use the class keyword. Then the class name, our class name is player. Then it takes the first function, or you can define function or method like this. The first function or method name is init. Okay, in classes, if you are creating function inside class, this is known as init. The first argument that this function has, or any function that you will create inside the class, will have the first argument as self. Okay, why self we will learn about in some other tutorial in detail. Okay, for now let's just understand that the first argument that you need to pass is self. Okay, then we need to pass x, and then we need to pass y. Now what this x and y means? This means the position where we want to show our player on the road. Okay, and we will take one more argument, type. This will basically select the car for us. Okay, we have 8 cars, so we have to select one for us. Now we are just going to load the car image here. Okay, so in class you create variables like this, self.image or self. Whatever you create a variable, just put self with it. Okay, so self.image. Now the concept of loading the image is same, pygame.image.load. Then you need to pass the folder path, so assets, and inside this I think it's cars, if I remember. So cars, and then you have to pass the name. So my name is my file name is type +1.png. Now we have to use the f strings here, so let's just put a f here, so you can substitute the value of type in this string. Looks good. Now what does this mean? Basically, if we pass the value of type equals 0, it will load the first car. Okay, So if we pass the value of type 1, it will load the second car like this. Okay, so we are simply adding 1 to it, and we will actually be passing 0 to 7 values. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is we want to resize our image. So self.image is equal to pygame.transform transform.scale, and here we have to pass the image name, which is self.image. Again, if you have any doubt, you can just ask in the comment section. Okay, so 48 comma 82, this will be my new width and height. Okay, if you just open the image, you will see the actual size of car is very big, so we have to resize it. Now here comes the next thing. We have learned about how to load images. There's one more concept that I want to tell you about. Okay, in Pygame you cannot directly move the images. Let's see, I have a window here. Let's just create. This is okay. So where it is? Okay, so it's not showing. Let me just reset the canvas. Okay, so here we have created a window like this. Okay, and we have a road in the center of it. So if I just create another rectangle, let's say this is our road. Okay, looks good. And then we have a car inside it, and the car will be something like this. Let's say this is your car. Okay, in Pygame you cannot just directly move the images. If you want to move the image, every image has a rectangle around it which you can use to move the image. Okay, let's say if you want to move your car towards the left direction, you cannot just push the car to make it move to the left. Instead, every image is a rect. And what is rect? This you can just consider it like this small rectangle that you are able to see. This is what rect is. Okay, which I have currently selected. So it just surrounds the image, and we can just move this rectangle if you want. Let's say if I just want to move it toward the right direction, if I just add something to the x value of this rectangle, this rectangle will start moving to the right direction. If I subtract something from the x value of this rect, it will start moving to the left direction. If I subtract something from the y value, it will start moving to the up direction. And if I just subtract something from the add something to the y value, it will just start moving to the downward direction. So this is how images work. Okay, so this is what we are going to implement. We are going to load or create the rect of the image. So you can get the rect of the image like this: self.rect, okay, equals self.image.getRect. So here we have just got the rectangle of the image. Now we have to define its position. So you can define the position like this: self.rect.x equals x. Now remember, this second x we are getting from the object. Whenever we will create an object, we will have to pass the y x, initial x value. Okay, then we have to pass the self.rect.y. So self.rect.y equal to y. Okay, then we will create two methods here: def update and self, and let's just pass for now, and def draw, and we will simply pass self here, and let's just pass for now. Okay, so this is our basic blueprint of our player class, and this will remain same for every object that we are going to create. Whenever if we are going to create enemy class or any type of class that we'll be creating in this game, like road, player, enemy, nitro, whatever, we'll be using this basic concept that it will have a init method, update method, and a draw method. Okay, so we have created this object, but it is in a separate file, object.py. We have to load it in our main file. You can just load it like this: from objects, import what was our class name, player. Okay, so basically you have just imported it, but it will not work. If I just run this, nothing will happen. Okay, so why it will not? Because just like functions, until and unless you don't call an function, it doesn't work. So similarly, if you don't create an object of the class, it doesn't work. So we are just going to create an object. We will be creating the object here, objects. Now object is basically a simple variable. You can give your variable any name. I am using p. Okay, so player, and here we have to pass three values: x, y, and type. So I want my initial value of my player to be, you can pass any value to check. I will be passing 100 comma height minus 120. Okay, now what is our height? It is 512 minus 120. You can just calculate it. Then you have to pass a value from 0 to 7. So you can pass any value. Let's type for 0. Okay. Again, if I just run this, nothing will happen because we are not displaying our player yet. Okay. Now see, there are two ways to display an image on Pygame screen. The first one is win.blit. You just type the image name and then the position where you want to show it. The second way is when you use classes. In classes, this is a little different. Okay. Our draw function or draw method will take an argument window, and this window is where we want to display our car. This is same as the one we created here, okay, in this file. And here we have to type win dot blit, then the image name, so self dot image, this is your image, and then the position. So instead of manually passing a position like 0, 0 or 100, 120 like this, here we just directly pass self dot rect, because this rect keeps the position of our car. Okay, so it keeps it in its record. We can just change the value of rect and we do not have to care about the current position. Okay, so this rect will take care of our car's position, so we can just directly pass self dot rect here. Okay, now we have created it. The next thing that we have to do is we have to call the function, draw function. So p dot draw, if you are creating an object, you can call its function like this: object name dot method name, and this method will take an argument called window. Okay, so let me just go inside it. Okay, win. Okay, we have to pass win here. Now, oops, sorry. Let's just save it and see here. Our update and draw has two arguments called self, but we do not have to pass its value. Okay, it is just, you have to just pass one value. So if I just run this, you will see a car is being displayed here. It looks good. Our car is there. Now the next thing that I want to do is I want to make our car move either to the left or right direction. Okay, for this we are going to use the update method. In update method we will just change the position of car up, left, down, right, things like this. In draw method we will simply display it. So how to update our car? Let's say we will take two arguments here, left or right. These will be boolean values. So if left is true, we will just subtract 5 from the current position of our player from the x value. Okay, so minus is equal to 5. Similarly, if right is true, only one of these will be true. Okay, not both. So self dot rect dot x plus equals 5. Looks good. Okay, if I just we have to call this method now. So p dot update, and here we have to pass either the value of left or right. So let's say I want to move my car in the right direction, so my first value will be false, the value of left, and the second value will be true. If I just run this, you will see this car starts moving to the right direction and goes out of the window. It is uncontrolled, it's moving by itself. Now if I want to move it, the way I want to do it is, if I just click on the right side of the screen, it should move right. If I just click on the right part of the screen, it should move toward the left direction. Okay, basically if you are able to see the middle yellow line, if I click somewhere on the left of this yellow line, it should move to the left, and in the right direction, if I just click on the right part, it should move in the right direction. Okay, so for this, let's see how can we implement it. It's very easy. We'll be creating two variables here: move left and initialize it with false. Okay, so initially both values will be false: move left and move right. Okay, now the next thing that we want to know is where we are going to click, where we are clicking on the screen. So we can check where we are clicking on the screen inside this for loop using the event handling. So if event dot type equals, if you want to check where we are clicking, you can via this method pygame dot mouse button down. Okay, so using this you can just find where we are clicking. So x comma y, we need to know the position, so you can get the position of your cursor click, mouse click or touch like this. X comma y equals event dot pause, and you can just print x comma y. So if I just run this, it will show me okay, so it looks good, the car is gone. If I just click somewhere, okay, something, so I have clicked 4 times, and if I just come back and see this from here, graphical program output, you will see 4 values will be printed. So the first I clicked at 90, 132, then 210, 133. Okay, like this. Now we have to compare. The first value is the x value, the second value is the y value. We have to compare here if the x value is less than equal to the half of the width. Okay, we can compare it like this. If x is less than equal to width by 2, okay, so half of the width. Okay, so in this case our move left variable will become true. Okay, so move left equals true, else our move right variable will become true. Okay, so move right will become true. So instead of directly passing true or false here, we can just pass move left and move right now. So move left comma move right. It looks good. Now this time our car will not move automatically. It just stops and it waits until and unless we click somewhere on the screen. But if I just click on the right part, the car will start moving to the right and it just goes outside again. So we have to think of it. Now the concept is the car should only move until and unless we are clicking on the screen. Once we have stopped touching the surface or touch screen, the car should stop. So we can just check if we are no longer clicking on the screen. So for this we have this thing, we can just copy this line. See, though we are working on a touch screen, we have to check for pygame.mouse button down or mouse button up. So in mouse button up, we check that we are no longer clicking on the surface or we are no longer touching the surface. Okay, so if we are no longer touching the surface, we will just make our move left false and move right false. So move left and move right will become false, both false. Now this will looks good. Okay, so if I just run this time our car will not move automatically and it will not go outside the window. It will only move if I click on the screen. If I just click it like this, then only it will move. Okay, but still there's a problem. Our car is just moving out of the road. We don't want our car to be moving out of the road. Okay, so we have to think of some way to stop it. Again, we just need to find out where we are clicking. So we can again just print x comma y here. And if I just run this, we just need to know the x value or the border or the left border of the road and the right border of the road. So if I just click here and if I just click here, these both are the borders of the road. If I just go to the graphical program output, see the left border of the road is 40, the right border of the road is, let's say, 255. Okay, so we will just consider it to be 250. Okay, let's not use 255. So you have to just limit the position of the car. Okay, here we can do this. If self.reg.x is less than equal to 40, you can just stop the car. Okay, we will not let the car to or will not let it to be subtracted anymore. Okay, we will just set it to 40, so it will no longer be subtracted. 5 will not be able to subtract it from it. Here we can check for the right direction. If self.reg.x, this time we will not check for the x, instead we will check for the right. Now what is right? I'll explain it, don't worry. If self.reg.right is greater than equal to 250, then we have to stop our car. Self.reg.right equals 250. So let's just come to our xcali draw and let's see if it's here. Okay, so see if I'm able to select my car. Okay, so it's, oops, okay, I'm not able to select it. Okay, so I have selected it. See, basically there are 3, 6, 8 squares covering this larger rectangle, which is your car. Okay, so basically the top 3 values represent the x, the top 3 bottom and the 3 bottom values represent the bottom value. Okay, so if you want to get the x value, you can just get it like self.reg.x. So the top 3 squares are representing self.reg.y, the bottom 3 are representing self.reg.bottom, the right side 3 squares are representing self.reg.right, the left side 3 squares are representing self.reg.left. Okay, so you can get any value of this rectangle like self.reg.x, self.reg.y, self.reg.left, self.reg.top, self.reg.bottom, self.reg.right. You can even get the self.reg.center x or center y. Okay, so that's what we are trying to get here. and this will do the job. If I just run it again, you will see our car will no longer able to move out of the road. Okay, so it looks good. This was pretty much everything that I wanted to cover in this video. In the upcoming video, we'll make this road move and we'll try to add some plants to this road. Okay, so yeah, this is it for this video, guys. If you love this video, leave a like or a dislike. If you're new to my channel, subscribe it. Thank you. See you in the next tutorial.